Well, hey, everybody. My name is Jeff Teschke, founder and CEO. And fortunately for all of you, and especially for me, I don't have one guest, but we have two guests with us today. Two for the price of one. So I'm the founder and CEO of Forge3, but with me from Forge3 is also Zack, Director of New Business. Zack, say hello to everybody.
Hey, everybody. Happy to have you here.
So Zach's going to be tag teaming with me a bit here, and keep an eye on the questions. One of the benefits, obviously, of being live is that you can ask the questions for your benefit to make it more interesting for us, and also for everybody that's going to watch the recording back, which will be a majority of people typically. Ask the questions. This is an interactive thing, obviously. This is welcome to 2020. This is how we do it. This is how we roll.
This is Zoom.
This is Zoom. Welcome to Zoom. And fortunately, it's not just me and Zach. We also have a special guest from Trusted Choice. Joseph Cox is with us. And Joseph, I'll turn it over to you to kind of just kickstart this thing, and then you can flip it back to us. But we're honored to be part of this and working with you guys over there, Trusted Choice. This will be a great topic, I think, for us and for us to talk about. So go ahead. I'll flip it over to you for a bit.
Cool. Thanks, Jeff. Hey, everyone. My name is Joseph. I am with Trusted Choice. So if you guys aren't familiar or if you're not members, Trusted Choice is a part of the Independent Insurance Agents and Brokers of America, which is also known as the Big I. So Trusted Choice creates free marketing programs and resources to help agencies pretty much better promote themselves. And all of our resources are free if you're a Big I member in any state. So you can see the webpage he has pulled up here. This is our homepage. This is kind of where all our resources and programs live. The website is trustedchoice.com/agents. One of our free resources is called the Digital Review, which some of you guys may have gotten already. If you register within the last week or so, yours will be coming. But basically, it's a report that just kind of scores various aspects of your website, lets you know some areas that you're doing well, some areas you might need to improve, and it gives you a whole bunch of tips to help it improve. So if you haven't taken a look at that, definitely check your email. I'd recommend going through that. And if you haven't gotten it yet, keep an eye out. And then also for members that needed a whole new website, we decided to partner with Forge3. So here we are today. And with that, I'll kick it back over to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Joseph. I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite to do this. So we have a couple of friends on here that we recognize, a lot of folks that we don't. So for those of you that don't know, at a very high level, Forge3 has been around since 2004. We're most known for our core platform, which is called Active Agency. You'll hear a little bit about that today, but not a ton. This is really not designed to be a sales pitch for Active Agency, but rather just 8 things that, especially now, since we're so virtual and remote, that we've seen agencies use to their benefit. So that's really what we're going to be talking about here today. But Active Agency is a website platform for insurance agencies, has a lot of different sales tools and servicing tools built into it. Again, you'll see some of the designs. We're kind of known for the design and how impressive the websites look in addition to the tools that are built into it. And you'll see that as we go along. So I'm not going to spend too much time right now talking about that. The reason why we're all here is to talk about the 8 must-haves for insurance agency websites. Now, this is a sneak peek. This is the first time anybody on the outside seeing this.
This is Jeff's baby.
This has been a labor of love the last 6 months. This is a sneak peek at our new website, our new Forge3 website. So depending upon if you're watching the recording back or if you're watching this live, if you go to forge3.com, I don't know what you're going to see. You may see the old version, you may see this new version. But we're going to use this kind of as our jumping off point because it's well organized here. So there are 8 things that Zach and I are going to kind of tag team on and go through here. Again, the idea is that hopefully at the end of this, let's say 30, 40 minutes, whatever, you leave here with some ideas that you can start doing literally tomorrow. Not all of these require redoing your entire website. Not all of these require that you use us to build your Active Agency website. These are just some ideas to get you thinking in the right direction based on what we've seen work so well in the insurance industry. Does that make sense, Zach?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. So the first place to start is that first impression thing. Now, this one is not rocket science. Impressive design. What's going to happen? People are going to go to Google typically, and they're going to do a Google search. They're going to look for the agency. They're going to click on the link. They're going to get to the website, and within maybe a couple of seconds, they're going to say, does this feel like a good place for me or not? Mm-hmm. So that first impression is a really important deal. We're not going to spend too much time on this because it's kind of a given, I think, these days, but I'll show you a few examples. Now, the examples that we're going to pull up here are using Active Agency. So this is our website platform this is built on. But again, the concept is what I want to kind of drive home here, that first impression. So Zach, this is a trusted choice agency. I know, you know these guys quite well. What are your thoughts?
So one thing that I wanted to highlight on this site, and you'd think that this is a given with insurance agencies and websites in general, but when it comes down to a website, there's really two sides of the coin. One is the SEO side of things, which is going to get people to the site. But Jeff, if you actually scroll up to the top of the page for me, the other is just going to be calls to action, right? So you'd be surprised how many agencies I speak with where it's hard to find a way on their website to get in touch with that agency, right? So if you look at this site, and again, this is all stuff that you can do on your agency's site, whether you're with Active Agent or with Forge3 or anyone else. Just make sure that you have multiple calls to action. So you can see 2 get a quote options there. It's click to call, it's click to email. If you scroll down, there's also another quote request form. So there's 5 or 6 calls to action as soon as someone gets to the website, right? And these are all going to lead through to you. So because if we drive 1 million people to your website, but they can't figure out how to get through to you, how to get a quote, it's not going to do you any good. Right. So you have to focus on both sides of that same coin.
Yeah. And this is one of the reasons why, again, we're kind of known for Active Agency and these custom designed websites that don't cost $10,000, $20,000 like we used to back in the day. The whole thing with Active Agency, it's $250 a month. That's it. Like there's no setup fees or anything. So people are pretty impressed when they see this and like, well, this isn't a template. It's not. So if you look at this website, it's different than another website. And your website should look different than the agency down the street. That's the whole concept here. So in this case, this agency is not located in the middle of Manhattan, New York. They're in the country. They protect farmers. So the website needs to reflect that. It needs to communicate that. So think about what you do. Here's another quick example just to kind of paint the picture even more. What do these folks do? Well, it's pretty clear within a second or two that they specialize in high net worth insurance. So do you own a plane? Do you have travel overseas? I mean, so it's very, very specialized to the agency. So of course, we could pull up hundreds of different websites and you can see how they all look great and they all look different. But the first impression is the key here, right? So no matter what website you're going to, it needs to reflect what you're doing as an agency.
Exactly. It needs to reflect who you are as an agency, what lines of business do you write, where you're located, who is your ideal customer. Right? Because a lot of the times, like Jeff just said, I know we keep harping on this, but a lot of times, especially nowadays, the website can be the first impression for your agency.
Yep, 100%. So that's an easy one, Zach. Yep. That's an easy. Of course, it needs to look great. It's 2020. Most people are going to Google. 74% of insurance shoppers are starting on Google. That's a fun stat. So once they get to the website, then this next one is also kind of an easy one. But how many times have we seen that something like this just doesn't exist on the site? So you get somebody, you did all they're actually on your site. However they got there, fantastic. Like step 1, check. Now what? Like what do they, let's say it's a Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. or something like that. You may not be around. What do you want them to do? Well, of course, you need to have some sort of form for them to fill out. So no matter where you go on the agency website, it needs to be prominent, it needs to be highlighted, it needs to be kind of front and center, depending upon the agency. So some agencies want to push the risk management and generate a proposal kind of a thing, where others want the quote form to be front and center. So again, it comes down to what kind of agency you are and what kind of insurance and what kind of market you're in. Is it personal lines? Is it commercial lines? Is it employee benefits? Is it a mix? Is there one that's more than the other? But this is a really basic example. Get your quote. Super simple form. We've noticed that forms that are very long don't convert as well. So short, sweet, to the point, because what you want to do is encourage people to get in the door, because once they're in the door, then you can do what you do so well. The relationship part, get the additional information. Right, Zach?
Yeah, and you can customize these all you want, but from what we found is that 5 fields of information just has the highest conversion rate. So you're going to get more people through to you, the shorter that form is. And again, just to throw out another example, I've seen agencies that have these quote request forms that some of them have 5 vehicle spaces on there. And so this thing goes all the way down the page and they were all required. And that's just not necessary. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do with quote request forms. Some of them are like logic based, right? Where you just check a box if you want to add another vehicle. And these things can all be built into your site. There's several form companies out there that you can use. And a lot of them will integrate with different systems as well.
You'll notice here I put up the farm page. You might have seen that interactive graphic. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But on every page, so if you're on the farm page talking about farm insurance, well, there should be the next step there, which is the quote form. Don't make people click a link and then, especially on mobile, studies have shown that people don't want to go on their phone and click a link and then wait, and then click a link and then wait. They'd much rather flick up and down, like we all do on Instagram, right? It's easier to flick up and down and then, oh, the form's right there. I'm just going to fill that form out. So make sure the forms aren't just on the home page or on the contact us page. They should be there, but they shouldn't only be there. They should be on every page across the entire site. So if I go into auto insurance now under personal lines or under personal insurance, you can see the same kind of structure. We'll talk about this clickable coverage graphic in a sec, but there's that form again, auto insurance quote request. You want to make sure that's front and center. Again, an easy one, of course. Right. You got to start with the basics before we get to some of the cooler, more advanced things. And
you want to point out I just like pointing out some common sense stuff, right? So like from the auto insurance page, when that email comes to you, it should say that it came from the auto insurance page. They shouldn't have to check a box that says, I'm interested in an auto insurance quote if they're on your auto insurance page, right? Just make it as easy as possible for people to get through to you.
Yeah, 100%. You'll notice that I just clicked the get quote here on the right-hand side. If you think about mobile, obviously all this stuff has to work on smartphones these days and tablets and everything, which all these sites that you're looking at do, obviously. But if you're on mobile, it smushes, and this button's going to be way at the top of the page on your smartphone. So if you tap it, it doesn't load a separate page. Like I was saying before, it just goes right down to that form that's already on this page. Yep. So it's a usability thing. It streamlines it, and you're creating a great experience before they're even a client of yours. That's what these first two must-haves are all about. It's got to look great. And then once people get there, they're like, okay, this is a cool place. I like it here. It feels like these folks know what they're doing. The website's modern. It's up to date. It wasn't built in 1996. It actually feels like today. Great. I'm going to fill out this form and then take the next step and start talking with them. All right. Those are the first two. Now, we're going to get into some more of the interesting things, because some of you might be thinking, all right, Jeff, thank you. Wow, you said it needs to look nice and have a form on it. I'm glad that I dedicated the next hour of my life for you guys to tell me all this stuff.
We do have more than that. Yeah, we
totally
do have
get
more
it.
than that.
You got to start with the basics. So video proposals. Yep. So for those of you that don't know what a video proposal is, I'll show you. So this is a sample site. This is one of our demo sites, actually. So F3 agency does not exist. It's not a real agency. But video proposals is a really cool concept. So let's imagine that you're working with a prospect or a client, or it doesn't matter, a referral partner, whoever it is, and you can't get together face-to-face right now because of COVID. So what do? You can create a video proposal. You send them a link to it. They type in the password that you can set up for them, and they go into it, and if I have the right password.
And they go into it.
I don't know if I have the right password. They go into it.
Doing things live.
I know. I'll go into it. I'll get the right password in a sec. Yeah. So they go into it and they see the video proposal live, and they can actually see the video. They can see what you're typing. They can see what you're looking at on the PDF. All of that is right there. So I'm going to go in behind the scenes, a little sneak peek on what you'd have access to, and I'll go on to one of the pages here. Producers can have access to this individually, by the way, which is pretty cool. So an individual producer at the agency can come in here, and I'll show you. Click, since I'm back here, why not? I'll show you. You can click Add New, and you can actually launch the screen recorder right there, and it starts recording your screen, or I should say their screen, right? So if I go here, and I'll just go and grab this link. So you can see it even writes the email for you, copy and paste. So you can copy this right into an email. Here's the link that you would send in your email. Here's that password that I didn't have correct. So I'm going to say, view this video proposal. Type in that password. And there it is. So now this happens to be just a demo test that's in the system, but you can see the idea here. So the recording is right there. There's me down in the bottom right-hand corner talking about what the proposal is, talking about what the difference is between this carrier or that carrier, or why is a deductible different? Why is my premium different? You're explaining the reason why they're working with you, essentially, right? This is a very basic example, but you can kind of use your imagination and envision proposals on the screen and pulling up websites even. that sort of thing. And that personal connection is the key, right? So at the bottom right there, you can see there's the webcam turned on. You don't need a fancy mic like I'm using here now. You can use your regular laptop camera, your built-in microphone. If you want to upgrade it, you can. People use this just to record their webcam. People use it just to record the screen. You can do both like you're seeing here, but you get the idea. What's interesting about these is that when COVID started, starting in about March, April, really April, we've seen an uptick in usage of these. Why? It's obvious. We can't get together anymore, so people are creating video proposals and sending them to prospects. So we saw about a 20% increase in video proposals across all of the different websites, almost 1,000 different websites that are using Active Agency. That's pretty remarkable. And probably the most important piece of all of this is the close ratios. So producers then report back to us and say, by the way, these actually do work. We're increasing our close ratio 15 to 20% is what we hear from producers. So I don't know about you, Zach, but if you can increase close ratio 15 to 20% by recording a little video with your webcam and sending it to somebody with a link, probably want to do that.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so one thing that I recommend too, is a lot of people get scared by this stuff, right? Not necessarily scared, but just they don't know how to do it, or they don't know what to do. One just simple baby step to get this thing started is you can actually just record like an introduction. So for any agency, you could record something like, hey, this is Zach. Thanks for requesting a quote. We're working on this right now. We'll let you know if we need anything else, but we look forward to working with you. And the beauty of this is you only have to record that one time. As long as you don't say their name, you can actually fire that off to everybody that requests a quote from you. And they're going to think that you made it just for them. And then as you get more comfortable, you can get more into like the comparison of coverages and everything like that.
Yep. 100%.
We do have a couple questions, Jeff.
Sure, go ahead.
So Kirsten Ham asked, is the video proposal tool for live, pre-recorded, or both types of presentations?
So it's not live, it's for pre-recording. So think of it, instead of getting together face-to-face, or perhaps instead of recording, or instead of doing a Zoom session like we're doing right now, you would record it and send it to them. And if you think about it, it's actually more convenient probably for everybody, because you don't have to have something on the schedule. You don't have to coordinate with, are they available, and use this link to connect into Zoom and all of that. It's kind of a simpler way of doing it. By the way, here's another example that I just thought I'd pull up very quickly. Kind of gives you a better visual on it. So you can see the webcam at the bottom. So it works really well. And by the way, within Active Agency, all of this is built in. This is still Active Agency, what you're seeing here. There are other ways that you can kind of put like piecemeal a solution together. You can use Loom or like vidyard.com. There's some others, but you're sending your prospects and clients to those other third-party sites. Whereas with Active Agency, it's built into your website platform. So as a result of that, it's keeping the brand, like the link that you send them actually will have abcagency.com, like whatever your website address is, which is important. And you can also see if did they click the link? Did they watch the video or not? So there's some stats that you have kind of behind the scenes, which is also kind of neat and helpful.
Yep. And then we had a couple questions from Ryan. Ryan, you probably thought I missed your first question, but I was just waiting to answer it. So he asked, is that an available WordPress app for video proposals? So, I mean, I think that kind of just got answered with Loom and stuff like that. So this one's built into Active Agency, but you can use Loom. I think their website's actually useloom.com. There's a couple other standalones. I think one's Neoteric Agent, where they actually will produce the proposals for you. So give them a little plug there as well. But again, you want the benefit of driving that traffic to your site, because what that does is it's force feeding Google more data to help you to rank a little bit higher as well. So other question from Ryan, would you encourage the use of chatbox and AI on agency websites? Go ahead.
Chat, Jeff. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think you have to meet people where they expect to be met these days. So there was a while ago now, it was probably a year or so ago, where I was talking with an agency principal and he said, I hate this chat stuff. I just never use it. I'm not going to chat with a thing on a screen or whatever. But if you kind of think about that, that's fine, right? So regardless of your personal preference, the fact of the matter is it's not for you. It's for people coming to the website. So like, who cares about what you think about any one of these things? The fact is that they work. So if people are expecting it, or if it's going to help streamline the experience working with your agency, shouldn't we do it? Sure, of course we should do it. So yes, live chat, absolutely. Video proposals, absolutely. And you'll see we're going to go through a handful of other things here, which I would consider these days to be must-haves. AI, chatbots, that sort of thing, sure. Just don't put the cart before the horse with it. Sometimes there's this notion of, well, I'm just going to automate my entire agency, like from zero to hero, like in a week. And it doesn't really work like that. I'm a big proponent. If you look at, I think the reason why Forge3 and Active Agency is growing the way that we're growing and the reputation is what it is we don't automate things, we streamline things. And I think that's the right way to think about it, no matter what kind of business you're in, including insurance agencies. So how can you use technology to streamline the agency? Do that first. And then if you start saying, all right, wow, if we just tweaked it a little bit and added a little automation here, that's going to streamline it even more. Does that make sense? So just try to avoid this like big leapfrog kind of a thing where you skip over all the important building blocks of the agency to try to get to some, honestly, kind of a vision that may not be realistic initially.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
I don't know if that makes sense, Zach. But.
It does. Baby steps is the biggest thing, right? So 2 questions from Jim Eddington out at Western Pacific Insurance. Recent sign up for Active Agency. Shout out to Jim. So 1, do you trigger an email notification to the agent when a video is viewed by the client?
Not yet. No, but you can log in in this case, we're talking about Active Agency very specifically. So you can log into Active Agency and you can see if your prospect or your client or whoever it was actually went onto the video page to start watching the video.
And then Podium uses a text feature in their chat box on sites. Is this something Forge3 does?
Sure. Yeah, we've integrated their stuff quite a few times. I mean, from our standpoint, from Active Agency, we're kind of tool agnostic. Like the website has to play well with just about everything. So we have agency management system integrations. We have chat integrations. Active Agency is built on WordPress, like the fundamental layer of its WordPress. So it's very flexible. So sure, we have folks using Podium. We have folks using Rocket Referrals. We have folks using all kinds of different agency management systems, as you can imagine, different form systems, different e-payment solutions. Yeah, you name it, and chances are it's going to work fine, at least within Active Agency. Yep. Yeah. Good. Anything else, Zach?
No, let's keep rolling. Let's not get sidetracked too much. Yeah.
All right. So that's video proposals. Hopefully that gives you kind of a sense of it. Again, very powerful. That's why we've seen the increase in usage, especially since COVID. That's not going to go away, I don't think, even after COVID comes and goes, hopefully. And then, like I said, producers are telling us, reporting back, that it really does help their close ratio. It helps win business. And by the way, even for existing clients, use it there too. Like anytime you need to explain a concept, use it. It's impressive. It's a wow factor.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah. Personality. So this is a little bit related to the first couple that we talked about, but again, this is an important piece of the puzzle. So if you think about it, what's one of the things that an independent insurance agency is all about? It's really about the team. So whether you have team pages, and I'll pull up one of our demo sites here so you can see it, feature your team. Here you go. Like these are the folks that you're working with. In fact, I mentioned before our new Forge3 website's coming. That's one of the biggest pieces, one of the biggest differences from the current site to the new site is featuring the humanity of the business. Independent agencies have humanity. Like that's one of the competitive advantages. Geico doesn't. They have a lizard. You have people, and the trust and the relationships are built up with the people at the agency. So put those people front and center. I'm going to show you another little feature here, which is a cool one. Now this one, again, is focused on Active Agency, but it'll hopefully get you thinking in the right direction. So let's say we're on the F3 agency website, and let's say we're going to a business insurance, we'll go to brewery, one of my favorites. So here's the brewery insurance page. We got all the content. We have clickable coverage, which we'll talk about. There's that quote form we already talked about. So everything is there, looks nice, fine. I want to send this to my prospect. However, let's say I'm a producer. I want to reinforce that personal connection. So at the end, let's pretend like I'm Zach. I'm going to impersonate you, Zach.
There you go.
So let's say that I'm Zach. You can see I just typed hashtag Zach at the end of that. That's all you have to do, right? So I just hashtag Zach. So you'd add whatever your hashtag is. And notice what happened here at the bottom right of the screen. You see that down there?
There I am.
So Zack's contact information popped up. Picture of Zack, his name, his phone number, his email address. If you're on mobile, you tap the email address, you tap the phone number, it dials the phone number. All that stuff is right there. So it's across the entire site now. So if I start bouncing around and I go into the, I don't know, we're independent. What does it mean to be an independent agency? Notice at the bottom right still, as I scroll down, Zack just stays down there.
Yep.
So his little picture's down there. I can click on it. There's his contact information.
Click to call, click
Also,
to email, everything like that.
Exactly. And even at the top here, to that point, Zack, you can see there's now, it's Zack's personal email address and personal phone number even. So it kind of takes over and personalizes the entire agency website with Zack's contact information. So if you're a producer, like let's say Zack is, you're one click away from contacting Zack. Even if, so let's say I'm a prospect now and I'm clicking get a quote, and I'm filling out the quote request form. When that comes into the agency through email, and it gets stored in the system too, obviously, guess whose name's attached to it? Zack's. So you know to give Zack production credit. If it's in the client service center and you're asking, maybe I need a auto ID card or I need a policy change or something, same thing. It'll come into the agency and Zack's name's going to be attached to it. So you know that this particular client or prospect or whomever it is somehow connected with producer Zack at the agency. That's a cool one, Zack. It's one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's called Hello Producer. If you have active agency, you can use that. If you don't, the personal piece of it is important. Think about ways to incorporate team photos, individual photos. Maybe you go out and you're doing an event somewhere. In fact, as we're doing this live, most of our team is having a team barbecue to welcome our newest person, our newest Forge3 or Kayla to the team. Take pictures at those things. Socially distant, of course, now.
Community
but post
service,
them on the
all
website.
that stuff.
Community service, for sure.
Important.
For sure. All right. So that's personality. Zack, we talked about this one a little bit already because it was a question, but live chat.
Yeah. So live chat, I mean, there's a number of different companies out there. We use a company called Chatra as a part of active agency sites. So we give you a free account with them and we'll set you up and show you how to use it. We use Chatra because it's simple, right? So there's an app for your phone. There's a program for your computer. You can do stuff like set your operating hours. Chat is important because no matter what company you're using, it's just a good way to get in front of people. So people online these days, I mean, there's so much information, they can do their own research. So when they want to get more information from you or they want to reach out to you, you kind of have to meet them where they want to be met, right? You can't expect them to call you. You can't expect them to submit a form. If they want to chat, they want to chat, and they're going to find someone that's willing to do that for them. So this is just a good way to meet people and give them that instant gratification of either getting their question answered right away, or at least having someone say, hey, I got your question, I'm working on an answer. So they get that acknowledgement.
It's not uncommon for us at Forge. If you go to the Forge3 website, you'll see chat on there. There's a reason for it. Again, this has nothing to do, if you hate chat, if you would never use chat personally, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's really, is it going to help the agency? And the answer these days is absolutely, which is why we consider it a must-have at this point. But it's not uncommon for us to get more chat requests a day than we get phone calls. So just think about that. More people would rather chat with us than call on the phone. You have a phone at the agency, or you have a phone number at least. You should probably have chat now as well. And you're probably going to get more usage on that as time goes on. That's just the way this thing is working. Again, you can add chat to any website. Zack mentioned Chatra. Go to chatra.com. They actually bought the .com. It used to be chatra.io. So I think it's chatra.com.
They finally made some money, bought chatra.com.
They did, for sure. Another one is called tidio.com. But there are a number of them out there, and it's pretty simple to add it to any website. So if you're sitting there right now and you might be on a legacy, kind of an older website, but you just want to do something, this is a perfect something to do. Very cost effective. Chatra, you can start for free. We have a lot of agencies. About 70% of our clients using active agency have live chat turned on. About 70%. Most of them are using the free plan. So there's not a lot of cost, and there's a lot of benefit. So I would absolutely consider live chat. You can take it to the next step and do chat bots and build in some smarts and click here, and then it like build trees and logic and all this. You can do all of that. But remember what I said before, you don't want to leapfrog and get ahead of yourself. do things that don't necessarily scale at first, streamline the business first, and then figure out where you can do more technology, more automation, kind of step by step. That's what works the best.
Yep.
That's live chat. Client Service Center. This is another one, especially now with COVID and everything. I think folks are more and more used to just going to the website by default. So I'll go to, I don't know, just pick a random site here. This is one of our agencies using Active Agency. But you can see we have Client Center up here. Click on it. You want to give your clients the ability to work with you. That's the whole idea. So in this particular case, there's a login probably to the agency management system, which we do all the time. So they can log in, get access to their account immediately right from the website. Or there's some simple forms. So Zach, this isn't rocket science. I get it. But again, I mean, a vast majority of the time, I want to say like 90% of the time on especially older websites, it just doesn't exist. Yep. So agencies are forcing people to call them during business hours to make a simple policy change or something like that.
And it doesn't even have to be like on a lot of our sites, it'll say like client 24/7 client center or something like that. Like you don't have to actually be servicing their policies 24/7, but you should give people the impression that they can service their policy online, right? That's just kind of like a cost of doing business these days. It's not something out of the ordinary. You don't have to have like a login to your agency management system. You can if you want, and we can integrate that into the site, or you can just build a button to your site. But usually what we recommend is you have these forms that get through to you. And then for the simple stuff, or some of the easier stuff where you don't want to be the middleman, like maybe paying a bill, you can say save time by paying your company directly, and it'll send them straight to the carrier's page that's built into the site. Yeah. Right? So where usually there's links out to different carriers, different sections of the carrier site. That way you guys don't have to, be the middleman handling all the money.
Yep. One of the other kind of unique forms that you may want to think about, besides the obvious ones, I need a certificate, I need an auto ID card, I have a claim, I need to make a change, I need to pay my bill. You can think of all the obvious examples, right? Here's another one that's just something to think about, which is an annual review form. So think about that. It's renewal time, and hopefully you're reaching out to your client proactively. One of the things that you could do is send a very simple link, just like this. Grab that link from your website, whatever it is. You can put your hashtag, whatever, if you're hashtag Zack or hashtag Jeff, or personalize it just like you saw before. And then this form will step them through questions that are relevant to the renewal. Yep. If it's personal insurance, did you add a pool? Are there anything, what's happening with the business? This happens to be a multi-step form. This one is built into Active Agency, but again, you can use any form system and build out a form that makes sense for the agency. Send that to your prospect. That's a lot easier for them to fill out than, what are you going to send them a Word document or something, or like a PDF and say fax it back?
Yeah. So a lot of people, you're just going to get a lot higher of a conversion rate on this, a lot more people responding to you. Because I've seen agencies that still mail it. They will mail a review form, and then that person has to fill it out and mail it back. Or are you going to email them a PDF and then they're going to print it? They're going to fill it out, they're going to scan it, and they're going to email it back to you. That's like 4 more steps than just filling out this form online.
By the way, at the bottom left, you might be seeing these things popping up, little pieces of toast, I call them. Actually, there's one for Trusted Choice. It's a perfect.
There we go.
Perfect timing. So we call those power panels. This is not on the 8 must-haves, but it kind of belongs in the first 2 categories we talked about, I guess, a little bit. It's a credibility indicator. It's great for that. So if you're just hitting the website for the first time, regardless of where you are, this is the homepage back on the high net worth insurance agency site here. You can see them popping up. So oftentimes we'll use those to highlight different testimonials, like 5-star reviews, Google reviews. We'll direct people to quote request forms. If there's an event happening, or if there's an award that you might have won, it's a great little place to surface those things to reinforce that credibility. So if you're wondering what they are, they're called power panels. Yes, you can hit the X, and it just kind of hides it gracefully down there into a little lightning bolt, and you can always bring it back by clicking on it. That's also unique to Active Agency, but that's what that is in case you're curious. All right, a couple other ones, Zach, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Let's do it.
Again, if you're live, feel free to type in the questions before we go. We'll obviously get to those. Interactive content. So this one kind of takes all kinds of different shapes and sizes. We're going to show you one idea called clickable coverage. However, videos could work, infographics could work. Think about different ways to convey the message of what you're doing. So for example, let's go to high net worth insurance. So on this page, you can see here's a clickable coverage graphic. The idea with this is, how do you explain the different risks that, in this case, a high net worth individual might face? What's the solution? We all know the solution is to have the right insurance coverage, but not all high net worth people, not all people, period. This isn't just a high net worth thing, even though I'm using this as an example, don't understand that Geico is different than Chubb, for example. Like there are differences. Like we all know that. Education is the tough part. So these interactive graphics do exactly that. So I'm on here, I'm going to click around, I'm going to start learning. Well, what do I have to worry about if I happen to have a bit of money? And do I need excess liability coverage? Do I need an umbrella? Do I have a secondary home? Do I do a lot of international travel? Do I need to be protected on some of these different things? So they're interactive graphics, and I'll just go to another one that's probably a little bit more front and center for most folks watching this. Home insurance doesn't get much more basic than this.
A trampoline's a killer.
Personal insurance. It's why I don't have a trampoline for my 8-year-old and my 6-year-old, because I've seen the stats and I don't like them.
Yep.
So it explains, do you have a trampoline in the backyard? Well, sure. Okay, well, click on it. And you're starting to learn about insurance options and how they relate to your specific risks. What's been cool, Zach, is seeing how much time people spend on interactive content like this. In the case of clickable coverage, we've seen the average time spent on a typical insurance agency website of around 10 seconds. So just think about that for a second. Like a typical website, most insurance agencies, people are looking at it for 10 seconds and then going somewhere else. Like their attention span is like, yeah, I'm going back somewhere else. This isn't exciting for me. When you add clickable coverage, it's 6 minutes and 20 seconds. So think about that. I don't know what the percentage difference is there, but it's a big one.
That's a lot, yeah.
And it's obviously effective because you're educating them on the value of having the right coverage in place.
Yep. And that's the big thing. That's the big thing, is that it's helping you guys to sell based on value rather than just price. But also, I mean, let's be honest. If you took all that content and you put it on a page, nobody's going to read it. But you put it behind a blinking yellow dot, they click on every one of them. It's just something to do with human nature. It's that curiosity, right? So it holds people on the page longer, and the better your user experience is, the better you perform in those analytics. Google's going to see that, and that's actually going to help you out as well. Quick question. So Kim asked, is there a way to receive a recording of the webinar? Yep, Kim. So we'll be sending that out to everyone that attended and everyone that registered after the webinar, probably later today. Is that right, Jeff? Maybe early tomorrow.
Either today or tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to try to get over to the team barbecue once this wraps up, but probably tomorrow. We'll try to wrap that up and get it over to you for sure.
Sounds good.
And by the way, even though we're showing clickable coverage, and this is, again, we're back on the Christensen website, they specialize in farm. So right on the homepage, there's the farm graphic that you can do the same thing with, same concept here, right? But you can also do videos. So if you're recording videos and you're posting them to YouTube, that's another thing to embed within the website. That keeps people, it makes the website stickier. It gets people there and it kind of keeps their attention. Google loves that. So one of the factors that Google uses to figure out where, from an SEO standpoint, is how much time are people spending on the actual web page? Well, if they're spending 10 seconds, Google's saying, well, that's not that important. That can't be very valuable because people are spending 10 seconds there. If they're spending a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes and 20 seconds, whatever it is, that's obviously better. So Google's going to reward that by saying, this is more valuable content. This matters more. So when people do some searching, you have a higher chance of showing up towards the top.
Yep.
So clickable coverage is a cool one. This actually even predates active agency. This is the first kind of, this actually came out of writing all kinds of content for insurance agencies, and we realized nobody was reading any of it. Like, well, that's nuts. There's a lot of good content in there, but nobody's going to read it unless it's more interesting than a trifold brochure or a bunch of text on a page. So interactive content in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. Think about that and figure out if there's a way that you can incorporate that into the agency. Okay. Last but not least, Zach, I guess it's number 8 or number 1, depending upon how we order these.
Yeah.
I'd say they're all kind of equal importance. 5-star review capture. What is this and why is it important? I'll turn it over to you.
So reviews are important for a number of different reasons, whether it's just a testimonial on your site or it's going to be a Google review. Testimonials on your sites, which also can be Google reviews, are important just from a validation standpoint, right? The more good stuff people see about you, the more that they assume they're going to have that same good experience. But also it's important from a ranking standpoint when it comes to Google. It's going to help your Google My Business page to rank a little bit higher than the number of good reviews you have, right? Because again, Google wants to recommend people that are providing either the right content or the best service for that specific search. Because again, that's their job. Their job is to get people to that information or that service. So the better they do that, the more likely people are to come back and use Google again. And then they keep making that sweet, sweet ad money that they make. So this form right here is pretty simple. It's loosely based off of Net Promoter Score model, right? So if somebody leaves you a 10, go ahead and click on that, Jeff, and then it's going to ask for their contact information. And then as soon as they submit that, if you want to hit submit, Jeff, it's actually going to send them straight to your Google My Business page, right? So 10 is the best, 1's the worst. If somebody wants to leave you a 10, you obviously want that person, shouting it from the rooftops, telling everybody they know about the good experience they've had. And then that way you have their contact info so you can reach out and you can ask for, referrals or anything that you want to do there. So let's say somebody leaves you a 1, which I'm sure all of you trusted choice agencies, you do a great job. You're never going to receive a 1, but you never know. People are crazy, right? So let's just say somebody leaves you a 1. It's going to say, what could we have done better, right? So you get some constructive feedback. And not only that, but it gives that person a pretty good place to vent. And then as soon as they submit that, it's just going to say, what? Thanks for your feedback. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. So sometimes people ask, how do we, so this is exactly what we do, by the way, at Forge3. So if you go right now on Google, you can open up another tab, type in Forge3, F-O-R-G-E, the number 3. And in fact, why don't I'll just do it here to make it easy. Notice over here, see what it says? 106 Google reviews, perfect 5 stars. So we use the exact same thing that you just saw to do that. And this is a perfect example of streamlining the business instead of automating the humanity out of it. It's not automated. So when we finish a project, when we launch a new active agency website, for example, in your case, it might be you have a new client, they just went through the onboarding process, coverage is bound. That's the time where it makes sense to survey them. I personally send the link to the survey. I do it all the time. Every day I'm sending these survey links to folks. When they click on it, again, it comes right back. The feedback comes directly to me still. So we're a team of 20 right now. So we're a decent sized company, not huge, not tiny. And we're launching a site every single day. So you can imagine the volume here, but we're not automating it. Could we? Sure, we could. It's easy to automate it, but we don't because the humanity part is important. So I'll get the response back today. This morning, for example, we had another 10, which is awesome to see. Then I personally reach out to that client. I'm like, you just made our day here. And I'll reference whatever the person said. Like, I can't believe, Bethany's going to be so happy to hear that. Cassie, one of our project managers, is going to be thrilled to hear that. I'm going to pass this along to the design team because you said that the design is awesome. Like whatever the thing is, I'm actually referencing it. That's the magic because you can't fake that. You can't automate that. And then in that email, I'll say, here's a link. Click here and leave if you feel like it. You don't have to, obviously, but would love to get more Google reviews, Facebook recommendations, etc. That's how we do it. It's not rocket science. In fact, on our website, this is our old website. So depending upon when you're watching this will either be current or old. I'm not sure. But if you click on resources up here, you'll find a number of resources on this page. They're all completely free. A lot of videos on here. Did a roundtable with a couple of our industry friends about working remotely when COVID started happening. That's a really interesting one. I really enjoyed that one. But you can see here, if I go down far enough, how to get 5-star Google reviews for an insurance agency in 20 minutes. So watch that. And that's a perfect example of how to use that simple form that Zack just mentioned and showed you. That happens to be built into Active Agency. You can go to FormStack or something, wherever you want to go, create a form with one question or whatever. It says, how likely are you to recommend us? And then start collecting feedback and sending the link to people manually. It works. It really does work.
I mean, not even, so yeah, you could send the link to people manually, but you can also create a link in like your email signature, right? And just have a hyperlink that says, let us know how we're doing, right? Because then as you scale up, as you're sending more emails, you're kind of passively asking people to review you, right? So you're going to get more and more traffic to that form.
And I'll give you another little sneak peek here. This isn't launched yet as we're recording this, but a perfect example, if you go on to the F3X difference, and if you wonder what that is, stay tuned. You can read about it on the new website. This is how we get all these reviews. So post-launch surveys, I just described it. Support feedback is what Zack was talking about. There's a link in the email signature of everyone on the team. The entire team, all 20 of us have the same link in our email signature. Click on that link and you can see the feedback. Using that form that we just showed you, as simple as that may seem, that's how this happens, right? And then you have the Google reviews here. You saw those on the actual Google page, Facebook reviews here. So your agency can do the exact same thing that we're doing, and you should, because Google is looking at that as a credibility indicator. The higher number of stars you have, the more 5 stars you get consistently, not just one time and you're done with it, but consistently over time, the better off you're going to be with search rankings. Yep. That's how it works. It makes sense.
That was exactly, nope. Erica did ask a question. Will negative reviews negatively impact SEO? So you kind of already answered it. I was already going to go into that. And Erica, don't worry, that's not an obvious question. I know you said that as well. That's a great question. It does negatively impact SEO if you get negative reviews. So
too many. It's more the average. I mean, if you have, if you have 1,000 5 stars and you have one person come on and leave a 5-star, your average is still going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So
And it's important to actually respond to those reviews. So if you get a negative review, the most important thing you can do is actually respond on your Google My Business page. That's going to kind of negate some of that damage that it'll do to your SEO.
Yeah. Exactly right. So those were the 8 things. So we went relatively quickly on them. Hopefully that all made sense and you got some ideas and some little tidbits, whether it's a simple thing like let's just add chat to our website right now or do it tomorrow. Or if it's some of these bigger concepts like, oh, video proposals would be cool. Let's start looking at that. Or clickable coverage. I really like those interactive graphics. Well, then that's active agency. Which, by the way, if you're curious about what active agency is and if you want to see some of that in action, like if you want Zack to kind of walk you through it at a slower pace so you can kind of understand and ask questions, go to forge3.com. Again, this is the new site that you're seeing. Here's the current site. Either way, it's going to be pretty obvious how to schedule a demo.
Yep.
And Zack, you mentioned that you want to do something special too, I think, for Trusted Choice folks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I should have said something earlier on the call, but we got rolling a little too quickly. So just as a special treat for you guys, I mean, if you are interested in learning more about active agency, for attendees and registrants to this webinar, we're going to give you guys the first month for free. So it'll save you $250, help you get up and running a little bit quicker and a little bit easier from a budget standpoint with the new website.
Awesome. And the pricing is super simple. I mentioned it before, but here's a snapshot from our new website to give you a sense. No upfront setup fees. You're not locked into contracts or anything. It's pretty straightforward. Yep. But again, if you're interested, you know where to find Zack. Go to our website, click the button, or chat with us live. Chat with us on there.
And that was our one plug for the day. So
there's the plug. We're plugged out.
We're plugged out. Any other questions from you guys? I see there's still, I think we've got 40 people online. People are starting to drop off a little bit. Any other questions that we did not answer that you guys want us to cover? I can hear like the Jeopardy music in my head right now.
Or the crickets.
Yeah.
Well, crickets. If you do have follow-up questions, you certainly know where to find us, hopefully at this point, forge3.com. I just want to say, Joseph, thank you again, for you and the Trusted Choice folks for working with us and having the partnership with us and inviting us to do this and helping promote this and everything. Hopefully it was helpful to those of you that were on here, either live or watching the recording back. Anything you want to say to kind of wrap it up, Joseph, before we disconnect and say goodbye? Oh, you're muted.
He's muted. Yeah.
Never mind.
Well, we'll say goodbye for him. He waved.
He waved for those of you listening at home. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Zack and I will stick on around here for another few minutes after we kind of say goodbye and hit the button. So if you have questions on here live, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, Zack, thank you. Joseph, thank you. And most importantly, thanks to all of you for watching. We appreciate it. We'll see you soon. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.